There he is, Mr. Brio Pro himself.
Hey, Dr. Clearfield.
How's life? How's life in Florida?
It's good. My wife just said, "Oh no," when she heard your voice.
Oh no. What does that mean? Oh no. I thought you liked me.
It's not personal. It's just that she knows I'm going to be on this call for the next 2 hours.
Well, you usually drop off, don't you?
Usually because she's like, "You've been listening to those guys for too long. Pay me some attention."
Yeah, well, was it somebody said his son came to wanted to know he was gonna wanted to get married, and his father said, "No, you're not ready." And the reason being is that he hasn't learned yet to say to apologize for things he hasn't done yet. So
You just got to keep apologizing.
yeah. I noticed I do that a lot. I'm just fiancé. I'm not really married. So
Yeah, I thought didn't you say you're not going to get married again? Are you going to do it now? We
I don't
invited?
we'll
Are we
see.
going to dance? There's
I'd
going to be
invite you
dancing, right?
if you'd want to learn how to dance, but you keep fighting me.
Yeah, I don't want to dance.
You play
Are you guys
tennis,
gonna do one of the
you do
shotgun
all those
weddings?
you do all those cool things, and you don't want to dance. It's like it's uncanny.
No, no, I don't do dancing. I play tennis though.
I know you play tennis. So
That's
so where are you going next?
We're going to that conference in Bologna, Italy. I'm gonna speak there. Not too.
Okay.
Yes, the Symposium of Functional Medicine in Italy, and I'm gonna try to give the presentation in Italian.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
I
hope
made
we
a
I
real
hope we
challenge
have a
for myself.
speaker tonight. I was not able to contact her. Dr. Nario said she'd be on, so uh,
Oh man.
I did not contact her at all. So, do you have anything ready just in case? I mean, I always have something.
I could guess I could.
Tell us what you did when you went to where was your last exotic place? I know you went to England, right?
Yeah, we went to England. We went to that doofy conference in London.
Yeah, they same outfit invited me to go to Bangkok.
Yeah, no. They
So
invited me to go there too. I said no, I'll pass.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I got a bunch of them. I got AMMG coming up, and then I got the vitamin
Where
C.
at?
Uh, that's in uh, that's in November. I got the vitamin C lady inviting me to do hormones and vitamin C. I had to go look that stuff up. Then I got my annual semi-annual A4M rejection. So
Really? They don't like you?
they don't like me. I know. Ever since the gal I used to do the Botox on left, they don't want me at all.
I thought about applying to speak at AFRM in West Palm.
Yeah, well, I do it twice a year, and I keep getting rejected. It's, I don't know.
Well, that's
Maybe I'm too old. I got a lot of wrinkles now. I don't look so good anymore. I'm just gonna have to pass the information on to you.
yeah. I try to absorb it all here.
So, and I'm working on what am I working? I'm working on the endocrinology of psychiatric illness. So it was supposed to be an article. I got invited to write an article for a journal, and uh, I kind of got away from me. I'm only about two-thirds of the way done, and it's already up to 80 pages.
Wow,
So
you're a prolific writer.
I might I might I might have to turn to Dr. Tano. Maybe we can turn it into a little booklet or something.
Sounds like it. Well, I'm turning all my lecture materials into a course. I'm serious about it. I'm gonna make a really nice practical course.
Yeah, I mean I have a few of those. The only people who made any money on it were the people who sponsor the platforms that make the courses.
Hmm.
So
Well, I've got an in with the Florida Academy of PAs. They wanted it because I gave a great lecture in Tampa on iodine. I iodine filled them. They loved to hear it. And
Hmm.
they said, we need more of this. There's a huge demand.
Yeah. Well, the osteopaths don't. So I gave a talk on, my the uh laboratory.
Yeah.
Oh man, one guy was screaming at me. What do you mean you're just shotgunning tests here? You're just ordering tests for no reason, right?
When was this recent?
This was in July.
Oh, that's recent then.
All you're doing is ordering tests. I said, I'm going over lab tests, things you should know.
It's cheap too if you order
They
through
didn't
LabCorp. I don't know
they
what
didn't
you're
they
complaining
didn't
about.
really like he got hot under the collar about ordering thyroid antibodies. The,
Really?
the TSH is normal. We do have our speaker here. Great. The TSH is normal here. What are you ordering this stuff for? I said, because you
I,
guys all miss it. That's why.
that's unbelievable. They're still defending ordering a TSH
Yep.
alone.
Hmm.
Oh, come on. It's 2025.
Well, that's what
Give up the
Halassa
program.
told. That's what Halassa told me about writing books, and then I guess the Amazon's pulled his his AI books from that's what I hear. So I heard that
You
as
making sales?
well. He does it all with AI, and it's you're supposed to do your own writing.
Anyway, I don't know if they have this at one place now, probably not, but this is so.
All right, Dr. Crowley, are you talking? Because if you are, it's muted.
That's what happened.
No, there's a lot of background noise. I was going to say something, but I am just shocked at them. I guess if they're recognizing the content as AI, then maybe they have the right to take it down, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Mickey Town does.
We've done some. We kind of use it as an outline. So got our guest here, Dr. Cano. There you go. So
Can you hear me?
pleased to have you with us. We usually start a little bit after 5. First, we have Dr. Nario give us the integrative medicine tip of the week. And that's from his course with Dr. Weil. We do that because the rest of us are either too lazy or too cheap to go take the class ourselves. So
Hey, Dr. Bill,
we,
did I tell you that I got another good speaker for us?
you did. So we're gonna talk about that here either before or after our class also.
I pulled all my A4M crew for you.
Okay. Well, that's
So
good because
there,
I got my like I was telling Dr. Stefan, I got my semi-annual rejection from A4M for I sent him a couple of abstracts for December, and
I,
they told me again they don't want me. So
give it to me. I told you pass it through me.
right.
I'll give it a push.
Okay. All right. So while we're getting ready, before you do your tip, you want to talk a little bit about what we talked about this weekend?
Oh yeah, sure. So just to give everybody an update for the conference here in Reno, the Element Hotel, December 4, 5, and 6. So we already got teams organized. We got the team from the research group, from the homeopathic board, from AOSIM, and also I think Dr. Bruce's NOMA group is going to be part of this. Did I miss anybody else in that group? Nima, Dr. Gerber
I don't know.
also.
When Dr. Halassa gets back, he'll want in too. So
Right. So we have basically like 5, 6 teams on this conference, and everybody's going to be doing their part, getting AV production going, speakers. We're now trying to get sponsors in there, but where we're going with this is it's getting real and real as we move forward. So this is a good sign. So everybody out there, make sure who wants to be a speaker, submit your abstracts to us. And also sponsors, if you want to be a sponsor, if you want to fly in, we have block rooms also.
you
And
have to
I
sell
think we
10
have
rooms,
some,
right?
Yeah, I think that will be easy to do. And Dr. Siegel already kind of volunteered to be part of our I guess, live crew, to be a part of the speaking group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also talking to the Philippine group. They're probably going to send some speakers over to us. They're going to be doing it online. So at least because they want to participate. So we got this. Yeah, this is a good response for us. Not bad for what? How many year of hiatus?
Yeah, well, it's been 3 years
Uh,
since we've had a live show.
right. So it's time to see each other again,
Yeah,
live and up close. This is the
right.
time to do it.
Yeah, and Dr. Quinn in the Dr. Quinn in the medicine group, his medicine show. I go, uh,
Sounds a little bit like snake oil.
yeah, well, yeah. So I think one of the key features I think of this conference that you're not going to get anyplace else is Dr. Quinn's group has been putting together an apothecary of well, you explain it, okay? Um,
Yeah, there's like two phases or two sections of the apothecary. One of them is the standard FDA approved type of meds, cardiac meds, antibiotics, all of that kind of stuff. That's going to go through Shinlaza. The apothecary is going to be those things, as Dr. Tano likes to say, things that maybe people are a little bit afraid of using and or things that are difficult to find. Plus, we're going to have, peptides and all of that, homeopathics, everything. We're looking to run the gambit. So, like Dr. Dimitri's molecule for detoxification, Dr. Tano's products, things like that. We're going to carry all of that stuff. We actually have a group of about 4 or 5 of us that review any potential additions to this. As I like to say, it's kind of like it's dynamic. The formulary changes, adds, deletes, and all that. It's not set in stone, so people can get things added, by presenting them to us. And we've had presentations. I don't know if you know that, but we've had presentations on Saturday mornings. We give some of these people half an hour, and they can present their stuff. So, yeah, we're going strong, and hopefully by December
yeah.
we'll be really powerful, and we'll be up and running before then.
Okay. What about Spermadine? Do you think you can have some of that in there?
Why not?
Well, we're going to find out why or why not tonight, aren't we?
Yeah,
You like
yeah.
that lead in? How was that lead in?
I mean, that was perfect.
How was that? Was that smooth or what?
It's super smooth. Like you've done this all your life.
Okay, everybody.
I
So
feel used.
this is Dr. Neri. You want to do your tip of the week here first?
All right, sure. So okay, so
I'll do it
our
again,
leak
Dr.
of the week.
Cano. I'll get you back in here in just a few minutes.
You're good.
Go
All
ahead.
right, so our leak of the week today, so we're gonna divert away from our supplements, from our regular peptide recommendations, but we're gonna be diving into Chinese body clocks. So let's talk about the foundation of traditional Chinese medicine, or the qi, whatever you want to call it. So it's like an electrical circuit. The key is the current flowing through the wires. If the current moves smoothly, the lights stay bright. But if there's a short circuit, suddenly things flicker, dim, or even shut down. That's why qi matters. It powers movement, fuels metabolism, helps the immune system, and keeps everything in its proper place. So now here's the fun part. The qi doesn't just wander around aimlessly. It runs on every organized 24-hour scheduled called the Chinese body clock. This clock tells us when each organ system has peak energy, almost like each organ has its own office hours. So if you're ever wondering why you always wake up in the same odd time at night, or why 3 p.m. slumps it hard for you, the Chinese body clock might just hold the answer. And don't worry, we'll keep it simple and practical. So TCM divides the day into 12 hours. Each organ gets its shift. Think of it like an ancient factory schedule. Some organs are on day shift, others on graveyard, and a few are just overachievers. So here's something maybe more specific for you. At 3 to 5 a.m., we're talking about the lungs being in charge. So this is detox and oxygen time for us. And this is when the lungs qi peaks, supporting the deep rest and purification. If you wake up at this time, it may be unresolved grief, knocking, or maybe you're just having your neighbor's dog barking at you. But either way, your lungs want peace during this time. 7 to 9 a.m., it's your stomach. This is the best time for a hearty breakfast. The stomach's chi is the strongest here, making it most efficient at breaking down food and absorbing nutrients. Skip it, and your stomach is basically saying, great, now I'm supposed to power this whole day on fumes. So 9 to 11 a.m. spleen, working with the stomach, the spleen transforms food into usable energy. Mental clarity peaks now, making this an excellent time for work, study, and problem solving. If you're sharpest mid-morning, thank your spleen for it. So 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the heart. Time for joy and connection, which is great for lunch with friends, not great for stressful meetings. So if your heart could talk, it'd say laughter, please, not spreadsheets. So it's best to avoid strenuous activities or excess stress during this period. 1 to 3 p.m., small intestines. This is the great sorter, as we call it. Separating nutrients from waste. Emotionally, it's about discernment, deciding that's what's useful and what's not. So if you can't choose between coffee or tea, just know your small intestines is working overtime. 3 to 5 p.m. is the bladder. So this is detox mode. This is when the afternoon energy slump often hits, but sometimes it's just your body saying, hydrate me. A short break helps here. 5 to 7 p.m., the kidneys, the energetic battery pack of the body, storing the essential life force, the Jing, as we call it. This is the best time for light dinners, recharging, and calm activities. Netflix counts, but if you're only hydrated. So 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., the gallbladder is working hard, the decision maker. You should be asleep so your gallbladder can plan tomorrow's brilliance. This period is crucial for cell repair and mental processing. Waking during this time may relate to indecisiveness or low self-esteem. So stay awake here and you may end up planning poorly. And lastly, 1 to 3 a.m., the liver. It's a detox headquarters. Deep sleep is essential so that the liver can do its full job. If you wake up angry at 2 a.m. about something from 2008 or in the past, that's your liver talking. It can be a sign that there's a chi stagnation often linked to anger, frustration, or stress. So what's the takeaway? Your body has a clock. Whether you wear a watch or not, honor the rhythm and you'll sleep better, digest better, and maybe even stress less. So thanks for joining me today. Remember, listen to your body's clock because it's been running the schedule for thousands of years. And that's your leak of the week.
Thank you. Were you all able to see that I put up a clock for you? Were you able to see that on your screen? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
there
just a couple of other things. So some of the practitioners, some of you may know that I've been an acupuncturist since 1991. Some of the practitioners will only treat certain conditions at that time. Like they will tell, and these were mostly the originals, the older folks, the Asians. They will only treat lung conditions. They'll have to have their patients come in at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's when they'll only treat them. We thought that was a little bit obsessive compulsive, but some of them insisted that was the only time you could successfully treat lung issues. And again, following the whole clock. The other thing is to remember is that the spleen was actually translated. It actually refers to the pancreas, but it was translated as spleen. So when you say your spleen is out, it's really your pancreas. You thank your pancreas. That's what you said there, right? Maybe maybe the spleen and the clock it needs a little bit of help from some really powerful supplements. I heard Spermadine's pretty good for restoring chi. But I could be wrong.
I think that's
We're going to find
Dr.
out.
Cano.
I don't think I did as well this time as the first time. But I want to welcome Dr. Melissa Cano. She's a biochemist, a molecular biologist with a deep passion for exploring cellular metabolism and biotechnology. Originally from France. You're not our first French speaker, by the way. We had a speaker last year from France, okay, who's now, by the way, moved on to Greece. Evangelika, if you remember, those of you who were on with her, she's in Greece now. Earned her PhD at the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission, where she focused on advanced biofuels production. She expanded her expertise in metabolic engineering, analytic chemistry, and biophysics. She leads projects for 8 years on bioenergetics, ATP and NAD modulation, and gene editing to develop microbial strains for producing valuable compounds at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Colorado School of the Mines. After 12 years in academia, Dr. Cano transitioned to the dynamic startup world, applying her expertise to developing sustainable biofuels and bioproducts. She's the director of science and longevity labs. She combines her scientific background with a passion for health and longevity and oversees global research collaborations. She works to translate cutting-edge research into practical life-enhancing solutions for doctors and the public, and her goal is to bridge the gap between groundbreaking science and tangible benefits for human well-being. Quite a mouthful. I don't know, Dr. Naria, how you find these people that are a lot smarter than at least me. But so, Dr. Cano, welcome and thank you for being here. I was perusing your website and some of the things you have to speak about, and they're quite fascinating. So, and even at this late stage in my career, I'm still learning new things. So take it away. If you have a slideshow, you know how to share.
Oh, definitely.
Only us old folks like me and Dr. Burgess who don't know how these things work. So.
Oh, I cannot function without a slideshow. So, do you see this?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Does it work? Okay. So, well, thank you for this great introduction and the great transition from your meeting. I'm actually very surprised and happily surprised how you guys communicate and organize this. I find this amazing. So thank you very much for having me. So I joined Longevity Labs about a year ago, and to be honest, before that, I didn't really know much about spermidine. Most of my career I've been studying the world of microbes and mainly bacteria. And so joining the world of more integrative medicine has been quite a bit of an experience for me, but it's been amazing because I've learned a lot and I was able to use all my background in biochemistry to really translate the research and make it accessible to the general public, but also more advanced people like you. So I'll go ahead and just take you through the slides I've prepared. I don't know how you guys do it. If you want to interrupt and ask questions as we go. It's hard for me to check the chat, but maybe you can let me know if someone has been asking questions as we go, or we can do this at the end. There will be a little bit of Q&A session. So spermidine.
Usually we do it at the end, so.
Okay, sounds great.
I'm not really seeing the slides. I'm
You're
not. No, I just see you as a small square.
Does anyone else see the initial slide with my cursor on it?
It says Longevity Lab, Spermadine Life, Mode, Method, and it looks like a green screen that you're in front of.
Oh, okay. So let me see. Oh, okay. Got it. That was in the right screen. Now you should be seeing it.
Oh,
Do you see
good.
it?
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I was going to start
There you go.
right away with that slideshow. So let's go.
There you
So
go.
spermidine is often called the longevity molecule. Other molecule can also take the same title, but obviously that's why we specialize in. So I'll get to use it for that time being. So I've tried to also present a little bit with a more topic of the musculoskeletal health, because I thought it would be a little bit interesting for the crowd today. But you'll see the health benefits are pretty wide as we go. Let me see how I can actually change the slide now. Does that work? Let's go. Okay. So in this presentation, I hope you can get away with a good sense of what spermidine is, how it works, the key health benefits, and you'll see they're pretty diverse because of how the main mechanism of action of this molecule. The specific impacts on the musculoskeletal system, I've tried to make a little bit condensed of the scientific literature with the benefits, and we'll finish with the Q&A session. So What is spermidine? So you will see it's a very small molecule. It's called a polyamine because it has 3 amino groups. So those are the groups with the nitrogen atoms here that are bonded by carbons. So 7 carbon atoms. So it's very small. And those 3 amino groups as physiological pH are positively charged. What does that mean? That means that it's going to interact with most negatively charged molecule. And that will include RNA, DNA, and a lot of protein. So its function is essential. It has a lot of impact in the cell cycle, and we'll get into detail about its specific mode of action, let's say. So it's found in all living organisms and cells. You will find it in every cell in your body, all plants, all bacteria, all organism has it. And therefore, it's an important component of our nutrition. So we have daily needs of spermidine, so we cannot really function without it. About a third of your daily needs are going to come from your diet or supplements. So about a third of it, which represent more or less 6 to 12 milligrams. You can go a little bit higher in very plant-based diet from the more Mediterranean zone, where people are going to eat a lot of legumes, nuts, peas, broccoli, so cruciferous. So here you can see inverse pyramid of spermidine-rich foods. At the top of the highest source of spermidine in the natural world is wheat germ. There's also some mushrooms that may be able to compete with this wheat germ content of spermidine. And then you'll find it in other things, in aged cheese, which pretty amazing, but also peas, nuts, apples and pears are good source as well, and broccoli. So it's an important component of your nutrition. About a third of your daily needs, it comes from the cellular metabolism. So your cells are able to synthesize this from arginine. So there's a little bit of a complex metabolic pathway, but it's a bit of a derivative of arginine and ornithine. Another third, so the last third of your daily needs spermidines come from your gut. So your bacteria are going to be able to produce it. So these whole components of spermidine participate to your systemic levels. So you will have specific levels in your blood and in your tissues, and they vary depending on the tissue. So this is a very big simplification, but it's kind of just a visual representation of the idea that with age, the spermidine levels, whether it's in the blood, but mainly specifically the most interesting part is in the actual tissues, are going to decrease with age. Why is that? I mean, mainly because there's some rate limiting steps in the enzymatic pathways that are not functioning as well. You have less of the essential enzyme to produce it. Your gut microbiome is not as efficient, you don't have as healthy bacteria, and you don't really absorb it as well from your food. And usually as you age also, you may be eating a little bit less. So all this participates to the fact that the levels decrease with age. So what does it do? The main thing that it does, and that I want you to get to take away from, there's one thing you need to remember, is that it's going to be an amazing inducer of autophagy. And so what is autophagy? Try to make a visual representation of it. Obviously, this is not up to scale, and it's not a full representation of what a cell is, but let's say this is a general cell in your body. You have a little nucleus here, plenty of mitochondria, also plenty of proteins. Obviously, this is very simplified. And the autophagy process is a cellular cleanup mechanism. So you can think inside your cell, there's a bunch of things happening at all time. You have tons of different proteins and other molecules. Specifically, I'm going to focus on proteins and mitochondria. All of those are being produced regularly. They're being used, and they get old or damaged, or sometimes they're faulty, so they're not synthesized properly. And so the autophagy process is the mechanism that is going to help getting rid of all those faulty, damaged components. So the way it works, it's literally the creation of an encapsulation of all those old components, whether old proteins or other organelles, mainly mitochondria. And so it's going to form this structure, which is kind of a double membrane around old mitochondria and proteins, that called an autophagosome. And so to this structure is going to link itself another one, a little vesicle that is full of hydrolytic enzyme called a lysosome that is going to fuse itself, form an autolysosome, and basically all those enzymes are going to degrade all all mitochondria and protein. And so what you end up with is like new elements that can be reused to generate new mitochondria and protein. So it's a bit of a simplification, but when autophagy works well, your cells stay healthy, energy is used efficiently, and aging slows down. This is a little bit of a stretch, obviously, but in the context of longevity, it helps maintain your cell functioning properly. So avoiding the main traps of a cell that is whose proper function is impaired and that is going to show signs of aging. When autophagy is impaired, so when this process doesn't work properly, it's when you have the junk building up, creates inflammation, and it's actually the basis of a lot of disease. So a lot of diseases are related to an impairment of autophagy. It's not the main trigger, but it's often correlated. There's a correlation with an impairment of autophagy. So if we were to zoom in to look a little bit at the actual molecular mechanism, so if we were to zoom in at the level of let's say the plasma membrane here. So if you were to intake spermidine, but like I said, it can be produced internally in the cell. Spermidine can be transported inside the cell by some specific transporter. And the way it's going to really trigger autophagy is through the activation of this translation factor called EIF5A. Yes, that's a horrible name, but that's what it is, and it's often like this. So it's actually going to chemically link itself to this translation factor in a unique reaction called hyposination. It's actually the only, well, that's not actually correct anymore, but it used to be the only protein that could be hyposinated, meaning that the spermidine link itself and kind of create a moiety that is specific on it. Now, they found last year a new factor that can also be modified. Maybe we'll get into it if we have some time. But the way it works, spermidine link itself, modify this translation factor that then is going to activate a bunch of reaction, and especially the activation of this transcription factor called TFEB, that is at the core of a lot of important protein for a cell division, but also like a whole transcription program that is going to include some of the protein that are essential for the formation of this autophagosomal structure. So I'm getting a little bit faster here because, I mean, we could spend a long time here, but you can see this factor here is going to activate TFEB, increase the transcription and translation of those essential components that are necessary for the formation of this autophagosome. So directly activate autophagy. It also has other pathway through which it works. It can inhibit these acetylase called EP300, if you've heard about it, that indirectly is going to itself inhibit those light chain that form the autophagosomal structure. So basically it activates it also through this pathway, also through this transcription factor called FOXO3A. It's a little bit of a lot. The reason why I'm showing you this is because those different activation pathway, and mainly this one, this translation factor, EIF5A, have been well elucidated in the scientific literature. So this is well established. We know that this is the main way spermidine is going to activate autophagy through those factors here. It also helps through the activation of this translation factor, increase the production of some essential mitochondrial proteins. So not only does it activate autophagy, which I want to emphasize that it also includes mitophagy, so meaning the recycling of the old mitochondria. So mitophagy is a special kind of autophagy. Autophagy is a generic term. Mitophagy is specific to the mitochondria, but it's going to do both, but it's also this the activation of this translation factor going to increase the production of essential mitochondrial protein. So it actually helps with mitogenesis as well. So the formation of new mitochondria. the reason also why I'm showing you this is because I want to get into like alternative pathway that you've probably heard of mTOR, the nutrient sensing pathway. I'm not going to get too much into it, but you will see also that AMPK, so that's your energy sensor, is going to sense how much ATP, ADP you have. And you may have heard the sirtuins also, that those guys are gonna, so there's some acetylase are gonna affect also this similar pathway. The reason I'm showing you all of this is because at the end of the day, even caloric restriction that are gonna activate AMPK, inhibit mTOR, activate sirtuin, what they do at the end, like those caloric restriction mimetic, rapamycin, metformin, resveratrol, they actually all do more or less the same thing at the end. They activate autophagy. So rapamycin is going to inhibit mTOR, which therefore activate autophagy. Metformin is going to activate AMPK, which therefore activate autophagy. Resveratrol is going to stimulate sirtuin, which activate autophagy. Spermadine through those different pathways is going to activate autophagy. So it's a little bit much, but I wanted you to have a visual representation that this is pretty well established now. There's still some little tweaks here and there that needs to be fully cleared out, but we have pretty good idea that how the autophagy can be activated, and we know that it's important to maintain cellular homeostasis, and we know that spermidine is a directly trigger of this process. So maintaining healthy level of spermidine is critical. So we know that spermidine levels decrease with age in most tissues. There could be some tissues where it's not fully accurate. There's like some data. This can be some, there's controversial according to some people, but they had found that in some, so as you can see in older people, spermidine level can decrease. This is in the blood serum, which also can be a bit complex because they don't really correlate well with the spermidine level in tissues. But overall, they had seen that in very healthy older people, so people over 90, they actually had maintained higher level spermidine. So all those initial observations had triggered the research into looking into spermidine as a potential longevity supplement. So we know now from all those studies that spermidine can extend the lifespan of many organisms that are commonly used in the lab, including flies, mice, nematode, rats, and also in cell culture, human cell culture. So this is some example. I'm getting into the detail of it. I've left some reference here if you wanted to look into it specifically. This is a newer study that just came out a few months ago in aging that showed similar results that were shown before, that it extends the lifespan of flies. The interesting thing of this specific paper was that they were also looking at protein restriction. And so you can see here, they fed some flies with a high protein diet and then a high protein with spermidine, and they were able to extend the lifespan, the survival rate. And then they fed low protein, which gave even more of an edge, so an extended lifespan. And the best combination was the protein restriction and spermidine. So protein restriction actually helps, if you go back to the mTOR slide, can inhibit mTOR, therefore activating also autophagy. So cumulative effect of low protein and spermidine were able to extend the lifespan. So this was a newer study. So does spermidine work in humans? Yes, we know that. And the first indication, they came from epidemiological studies. Obviously, we don't have lifespan extension studies from supplementation in humans for obvious reasons, but there are several epidemiological studies linking higher spermidine intake to a lower mortality. I've linked a couple here. There's a newer one that came out this year. What they see is that people that consume a high spermidine diet, so a higher spermidine intake every day, they can have an average extended lifespan of about 5 years. Again, this is correlation, not causation, but it's been shown in numerous studies also that it helps reduce basically the risk of death from all cause, including cardiovascular disease, which has been studied extensively. So we know that a high spermidine intake lower mortality of all causes, including cardiovascular disease, but also neurodegenerative disease, metabolic disease, and cancer as well. So the way it does this is mainly by activating autophagy. You can think that all the cells of your body can benefit from autophagy, and autophagy is happening at all time in all the cells of your body. Otherwise, you would be starting to accumulate junk. Your cells would not be functioning properly, and eventually it will lead to an impairment of proper cellular function. So because it activates autophagy everywhere, it has a lot of numerous beneficial effects to supplement, but also to have a high spermidine intake from your diet. So it can sound like snake oil, but like the example I'm going to give, I've been supported by scientific studies, so we can get in detail in all those topics. Obviously, we don't have the time to get in detail and everything, but obviously we've shown beneficial effect in aging and longevity, not only in model organisms, but also in human. We know that it has a lot of beneficial effect in neurodegenerative disease. There are some studies that show that it can protect against cognitive decline, prevention of dementia. Another one is obviously cardiovascular system. It's a great paper that came out a few years ago from some of our research partners at the University of Graz in Austria that showed like amazing effects on the cardiovascular system, as well as the metabolism. So great paper that came out last year that showed that spermidine can also affect a new factor. So another one that the EI5A I talked about that is called RIPK1, which is linked to necroproptosis. And they showed in the paper that it can help mitigate the effects of type 2 diabetes. We also know that spermidine supplementation can improve glucose tolerance, a lot of beneficial effect on the musculoskeletal system, including reduction of muscle loss, activation of stem cells, better bone density, chondrocyte protection, cartilage repair. It helps enhance the immune response. We actually have some newer clinical studies done with our products that have shown that supplementation in spermidine in older people help increase the immune response to the COVID and the flu vaccine. And also skin and hair, so that's more a little bit cosmetic. But again, all cells are going to benefit from autophagy. So there are some studies out there that shows that it can improve wound healing, renewal of skin cells. We work, for example, with some dentists that actually recommend, because you don't need to prescribe it, but recommend the patient to use spermidine as a supplement after dental work to help wound healing of the gums in general. And it has great effect also on hair and nail. This is actually the main effect you would notice if you were to start a supplementation journey with spermidine, because those are the cells that are going to divide the fastest. And so this is the first thing that usually people notice. So I hope you can still hear me, because like since I'm not hearing anyone, and like I hope I'm still online and not talking in the void. So one paper that like I wanted to highlight is this paper that came out last year from some of our research partners at the University of Graz that was published in Nature Cell Biology, and that showed that spermidine is essential for fasting-mediated autophagy and longevity. So if you remember, can I go back easily? I remember too. But caloric restriction, so when your cells don't sense that there is enough nutrient to divide or enough energy, so ATP, to fuel this cell division, they usually go into a state where they're going to activate autophagy. So they basically, to simplify, say, okay, I don't have enough to proliferate, let me just reuse what's already there and maintain proper function. And so in this paper, what they showed for the first time very clearly in humans, in model organisms and in humans, is that when you fast, so when there's a caloric restriction, your body actually increases its level of spermidine naturally, which then activate autophagy, and that's why you get most of the benefits from fasting or from a caloric restriction. So this paper was amazing at really not showing that spermidine is an activator of autophagy, but it's the main link that can help link the caloric restriction and autophagy. So if you go, and they didn't show this in human, obviously, but in I think it was in flies and mice, but if they were taking them through a caloric restriction, but pharmacologically stopping the production of spermidine, there was no activation of autophagy and no benefits from longevity, so no extension of lifespan. So it was essential to have spermidine to get the longevity benefits from caloric restriction. So that was a great paper that I think has been a little bit of a consolidation of all the work that's been done for many years to link spermidine to this activation of autophagy. So I invite you to look into it if you have time, because it was a great study. So this is a little bit of a simplification, but basically, so autophagy decreased with age, with the spermidine level, and they were showing in this paper that when you fast with spermidine, it led to lifespan extension in model organisms, but and like to increase benefits in human. Obviously, they didn't measure lifespan extension in human for obvious reasons. So another study that I wanted to highlight, though, that came out like a couple of months ago in toxicology and applied pharmacology. I really like this paper because I think it shows like a specific use of spermidine and this activation of autophagy and mitophagy and how it can really translate into measurable effects. They used obviously model organisms, mice. They basically took mice that were in menopause condition and they either gave them estrogen or spermidine. And what they saw very well is that spermidine gave similar cardiometabolic protection to estrogen in menopausal conditions. So reduction, so OS and OE. OS is going to be spermidine, OE is going to be a estrogen treatment. This is OV is going to be the mice that had the ovaries removed to mimic menopause. And so they saw clearly a similar, and you can see like the white bars are more or less the same everywhere. So that shows you that the reduction in oxidative stress, increase in some specific antioxidant enzyme, the reduction in cholesterol levels, reduction in insulin levels, reduction in insulin resistance, in inflammation, as well as if you look here at the mitochondria, internal structure of it. So this is what the internal membrane in a menopause condition in mice look like. So they're like damaged basically under estrogen deprivation, and supplemented with spermidine or estrogen was able to basically recover and improve the structure, inside structure of the mitochondria, but also their actual function. So there are plenty of measurements in this paper that you can look into, but it was a great what quantity of spermidine? That's a great question. In this specific paper, I don't remember. I can look into it. I'm not going to do it right now because I will need to stop the presentation, but I could definitely get back to you on this. It's going to be a little bit higher than what we usually do in human, obviously. But yeah, I'll get back to you on this. So that was just to give you a newer study that just came out. And so there's studies I'm finding almost every other week. So there is like a huge resource out there. So, and I wanted to also give a couple of examples of the benefits of spermidine in some of the specific scientific literature on the musculoskeletal system, because I thought that could be a topic of interest for the specific crowd. Great paper that came out a few years back now in Nature. called autophagy maintains stemness by preventing senescence. And in this paper, the star of the show was actually rapamycin, if you remember, that inhibit mTOR. But they also, in parallel, did every single measurement they did with rapamycin with spermidine, and the effects were exactly the same. And so what they saw basically is that a 2 weeks treatment of spermidine in the mice used in the study was able to reduce senescence markers and increase muscle fiber formation in mice that were aging, like aged mice. And so it also helped the proliferation of satellites or muscle stem cells and reduce the protein aggregates. So what does it mean? So basically, it was able to help regeneration of muscle cells in aged mice. So helps with restoration of muscle. Also, this paper, like you see, you've heard this term now, EIF5A, which is like the way really spermidine is gonna activate this autophagy process. In this paper here, they show again that it activates muscle stem cells through specifically this factor. So they really linked it in this paper that just came out last year. So here it was a 5 months spermidine treatment, and they saw that there's plenty of measurement in it, but they went to also measure muscle strength, muscle grip in aged mice, and it was increased after spermidine treatments, including muscle force, a reduction of markers of muscle atrophy. I'm not getting into detail because, I mean, we could be talking about this for hours. Another study showed restoration of autophagy in case of osteoarthritis. So in chondrocytes, again, through this other effector that I showed you in the metabolic pathway before, but same thing, activating autophagy was helping to prevent cartilage loss. They saw specifically an increased expression of those markers that I've showed you that participate to the formation of this structure of autophagism. And yeah, so basically was able to increase the regeneration of chondrocytes, so helping cartilage. This other paper that clearly showed spermidine improve osteoarthritis as well, and this one was interesting. So I've mainly talked about spermidine as an autophagy inducer or activator, but spermidine has also been shown to have anti-inflammatory properties, as well as antioxidant properties. I'm not getting into all of this, but this paper really linked the anti-inflammatory response. That is probably also indirectly linked to the activation of autophagy as well. But here they clearly showed that 4 to 8 weeks spermidine treatments was able to increase the anti-inflammatory form of the macrophage, the M2-1, and reduce the pro-inflammatory form 1 in the joints of aged mice, so which improved the cartilage integrity, reduce inflammatory cytokine levels. So really a direct effect in osteoarthritis. Another one that I think is also interesting one, I talked about the AMPK pathway. You probably know exercise can help stimulate this pathway. And so in this paper, they show the synergistic effect of combining spermidine supplementation in mice with exercise that was able to even enhance even more autophagy, and so it was able to reduce skeletal muscular muscle atrophy in rats. Sorry, so the AMPK and FOXO3A pathway. So this was a 6 weeks treatment. So where they also show reduction of apoptosis markers, and they were able to see reduced oxidative stress, improved mitochondrial quality. And so you can see plenty of beautiful microscopy images that show the improved muscle fiber structure following the spermidine treatment. And especially this the cumulative effect of this plus exercise in muscle loss. So this review is actually interesting about the specific topic that shows the benefits of polyamine and physical activity. Is this direct proportional with the dose? if you mean whether the amount of the effect is proportional to dose, in those specific papers, I think it was one single type of dosage. And I want to highlight something is that the dosage used in humans. So we have some clinical trials that have been used in human where the more the better. So not always. And there are some papers out there where, and I could link them also if you're interested, where they give a lot of spermidine. And I want to highlight that that would not be a reasonable amount for humans. Definitely not through diet, but also through supplementation, where you actually create too much oxidative stress in mice and had negative effects. So definitely not the more the better. The way I see it is like those are preclinical studies, so they're always and the amount that they give is very not translated well in humans, but look for, and we can talk about it later, the clinical trials that have been done so far in humans. Obviously, the effects are limited to the specific topic that have been explored, which include neurodegenerative disease, cardiovascular disease, and the immune system response. But the levels in humans are much lower that have been used. So we're talking about 6 milligrams of daily supplementation for human. Just to go back to the very beginning where I was talking about amounts in diet, that's more or less what you should be intaking every day in your diet at the very minimum, 6 milligrams of spermidine through your diet. And so the clinical trials that we do specifically with our extract use that amount. So we're talking, I don't believe in acute, very high levels for spermidine. Other supplement might work, but what really works well is a sustained, healthy level of autophagy, not a super acute amount of spermidine that would create too much oxidative stress. Also, I mean, you're a crowd of doctors, so I can definitely talk about this. We try not to talk about using spermidine in case of people that have advanced cancer. So you may know that the spermidine, the polyamine metabolism, because I mean it's at the core of the nitrogen metabolism in cells. It directs. It's linked to the cell cycle, and so tumors actually rely locally, and so at the level of the tumor, on a little bit more autophagy to evade the immune system and maintain themselves. So locally, the tumor can increase the level of spermidine to trigger this autophagy to evade the immune system. So in some cases, too much spermidine cannot be good. We don't know really if there's too much of autophagy because there's not enough dosage studies in humans. But in the case of cancer, it could be the case. Now, we also work with some researchers that are actually interested in using spermidine as a treatment to treat cancer because it can also help strengthen the immune response. So it's kind of a little bit of a gray area. What I will say is that the more the better. I don't think so. Try to mimic I mean, if we want to live longer and live healthy, I think the best way to go about it is to look where people live healthy and live the longest. And that's going to be in the blue zone area. And those people we know from just studies from content of food and amount of food, they probably have a daily intake of spermidine that is closer to 20-25 milligrams spermidine. So I wouldn't go much higher than this in terms of supplementation. That's my take on it. I'm not an MD, I'm a biochemist, but and there is not like a definite answer on this because there's not studies. A number of developed countries in Japan and you are concerned over lower birth rate. Yes. Okay, unfortunately, I did not bring those slides into this specific presentation. But spermidine, there's a great paper that came out 2 years ago in, let me try to remember. I think it was in Nature or Nature Cell Biology that showed that spermidine supplementation in mice was able to increase fertility because it helped just rejuvenate oocytes, so like the eggs in aged mice. So definitely can help with fertility. There's other studies that show very promising effects. We don't really have data in humans just yet regarding fertility, but would highly I don't recommend, but I could recommend my friends to use Spermadine if they're trying to conceive, for sure. Like, I think it's good, or at least to look into your diet properly. So just going back to just the presentation, just to show you that there is quite a bit of literature out there that definitely show this pathway, like here I'm talking about AMPK combined with exercise, that these interconnected of AMPK, mTOR, those transcription factor FOXO that are going to trigger the synthesis of those autophagic effectors can really help with age-related muscle atrophy, but also mitochondrial quality, so with energy overall, and a bunch of other age-related diseases. I think the richest source literature out there right now with the benefits of supplementing with spermidine would definitely be for neurodegenerative disease and cardiovascular disease. So I haven't highlighted those today because I think they're more talked about, but those would be like the core of the literature out there. So just to conclude on the musculoskeletal health, the spermidine helps by restoring autophagy, activating muscle stem cells via this pathway I talked about. It helps reduce inflammation, joint inflammation, cartilage degradation, and just helps boost regeneration and function combined with exercise. So psychological benefits, yes. There's a preprint, so it's available publicly. It's not officially peer-reviewed because it's still in the process from our research partners actually using our extract. So I want to say that most of the clinical studies so far, I've been using our extract specifically just out of historical reasons, because the research partners that we work with that started longevity labs are out of the lab of Professor Frank Matteo, which is the one that really linked spermidine with autophagy. So we have like newer results that I could share, but they're not officially peer-reviewed just yet, that show that 3 weeks supplementation of spermidine, 6 milligram, in humans, so in like a cohort of about, I think it was 60 people that had depression symptoms, helped reduce depression symptom to the same level of pharmacological options. Why is that? Because in the paper, they show that people who have depression, that their polyamine metabolism is actually affected. And so supplementing was able to just restore a little bit the balance and also decrease cortisol levels, which is linked to some of the symptoms. So that was a very exciting result. We haven't really talked about it just yet until it's officially published, but that's the exciting benefits that we're all looking to be able to share more publicly. But I could share the preprint, so the paper is out there. Yeah, so those are some of the clinical studies we've done. We can talk about this afterwards once the presentation is done. What I wanted to highlight is that there's a lot of longevity supplements. They're going to act on different processes. A lot of them are actually going to help with autophagy, but spermidine is, because it's part of food, of all the food, it's present in all living organisms, it's actually one of the safest out there. And there's a paper that you can find in Biogerontology that compared about 124 of those longevity, so-called longevity supplements, and looked at total number of side effects, maximal probability of a side effect, and actually effects on the lifespan, so extension of lifespan, and spermidine really came out at the top in terms of a good compromise between proven increased lifespan and least amount of side effects, because we are consuming. Obviously, at dose, physiological dose for humans, so just want to highlight that part. So yeah, so you can see this extension of lifespan in different species have been shown using supplementation. And so yeah, so that was a good study. So with this, I think we can go into a Q&A if you have any other question. I'm not seeing any other in the chat right now, but
I have a quick question for you. Given that your top foods that provide spermidine, such as wheat germ, soy, if you look at those guys, in the US, for instance, soy is the number 2 GMO, genetically modified to tolerate Roundup. Wheat, we tend to spray Roundup on it before we harvest it, so we call pre-harvest Roundup spray. So how does that affect spermidine levels when you synthesize it or when people eat it?
That's a great question. So the company I work for now, Longevity Labs, we make the spermidine supplement from wheat germ in Europe. So our company is actually in Austria. So we don't have Roundup. It's done from organic, non-GMO culture. And I do want to highlight one thing. Is the reason why we also stay and continue the production there is that the spermidine level that we've measured in several, again, we haven't done the exhaustive wheat germ content in all the planet, but there is less spermidine in the wheat germ we have tested outside of Europe. I don't know if it's related to, so spermidine is produced by the plants itself, and the level can actually vary a lot through the seasons, depending on the years, depending on the place. So there's a whole field of looking into spermidine in the plant biology world because it's an important communication signal molecule, and so the content vary a lot. And I would say that in the US, we've found that in a lot of those cultures, there's a bit less, like the base level is actually lower. So that's why when people tell me, could I just eat wheat germ? Yes, you could, but like it might not have that much spermidine because we already go through a lot of basic screening just to choose specific batches that can also vary depending on years before we actually go through the process of doing an extraction to make a powder that's easily uptaken as a supplement. So I would say that yes, like all wheat germ is not created equal, and it could be also that using those pesticide and herbicide can actually affect the amount of spermidine in the wheat germ. And definitely try not to consume wheat germ that has been treated with Roundup.
In Europe, the wheat species that you have, is it the old, because they have the old wheat and they have the new one that is genetically modified and all of these other things. I mean, they have crossed these wheat with many, many ways. Does that make any difference also in terms of the content of spermidine?
So it seems to be, we don't really have like a really exhaustive study on it, but we use organic wheat germ, non-GMO. So it would be closer to like a non-modified wheat germ. Unfortunately, I don't have like extensive data to really back this up, but like from our anecdotal measurements, it seems to matter, definitely. In any case, at the end of the day, in a supplement, you will be looking at the amount of spermidine that is in the final product, right? So this we can guarantee, we measure, this is part of the quality analysis, of course. But definitely, if you're going to use spermidine from a natural source, which I think is the best way to go about it, look at organic, non-GMO source, just to avoid those issues with the glyphosate, etc.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Have you ever tried spermidine in the cardiac rehab program to see if the results might be better?
Sorry, in which program?
In cardiac rehab, in a cardiac rehab program.
Oh, so we have done some clinical studies, very small cohorts, and we have one going on right now, which shows that supplementation seems to be helping with reducing high blood pressure, but also just improve like some basic markers like of cardiovascular disease. I would say though, the literature out there on cardiovascular disease in mice and the benefits of spermidine in it is huge. So definitely it's like
There's definitely promise.
yeah, it's a great supplement to why? Because it really helps with mitochondrial
Okay, well, the other question I had, I'll tell you what I
function.
put in the
It's going to
chat.
help get it
A
rid.
number of developed countries, you take Japan and also the EU, they're concerned over a lower birth rate.
Mhm.
It's gone down, and that's kind of scary in the long run. Can spermidine help in this regard?
Yeah, I think I addressed this very quickly, but spermidine, because of this activation of autophagy and cellular cleanup, it really helps keep the germline cells healthy and functional. There's a paper that came out 2 years ago that showed that supplementation of spermidine in mice that were aging mice that had oocytes, so eggs that were not really functioning anymore, they were able to rejuvenate them. So just by process of stimulating this autophagy. So it was able to improve fertility. They had more babies like the mice. We don't have similar studies in humans just yet. So I want to highlight also something. Spermidine is a natural molecule. There's not a lot of patent that you can do apart from processes and specific condition where you can use it. So the incentive, the money incentive to finance some clinical trial is not there. So a lot of the clinical trials that have been done with our product, we actually didn't even pay for it. Like researchers are interested in their own topic, reach out, use a product, and do clinical trials. So I would love for all the studies to be done at like a bigger extent, especially regarding fertility in human, but unfortunately the data is pretty limited. But the preclinical studies in mice is pretty convincing.
You're a pioneer.
Well, I mean, the company, I'm like the newer on the company, but like the researchers that really started this, they were the first ones really on the market with the supplements for humans. So that's why most of the labs in the world reach out to them in the first place to use the supplement for the clinical trial. So we were very lucky in this regard that like a lot of the data that is very interesting was done using the products that we use.
Do you think it might even help students study more effectively? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if
Give it
it
a
can.
thought.
You know, the thing I would say, because I mean, I'm not like a salesperson by default, but I think like when you're young and if you eat healthy, which might not be the case, I guess, when you're younger, you may not even need to supplement that much. Maybe just look at your diet. The real moment where we see benefits in people just by means of testimonies, people getting back to us, but also from the clinical studies, is when people start entering the late 40s, supplementation really can make a difference, like an obvious difference in terms of energy, in terms of just like so there are specific biomarkers that you can also measure that are improved, including those effectors from the autophagosomal structure, but also like cholesterol level and stuff. This really start making a difference because spermidine levels and absorption decrease with age. So I think it's a good supplement to look into, especially when you're above 50 for sure.
After parties.
Yes. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't done the test myself, but I would assume it could help for sure.
So one quick one, is it like resveratrol? For instance, resveratrol, they said that in order to get one capsule of the resveratrol, you have to have like 11 bottles of wine to get one little capsule. Is it the same for spermidine when someone is eating the spermidine-rich foods? They have to eat tons of it to get one capsule of the supplement?
No, it's not as crazy. There is a decent amount of spermidine in like in the food I mentioned. You will, if you eat rather healthy, you should be able to intake about 6 to 10 milligrams of spermidine in your diet, which is a reasonable amount. You kind of want to be able to double this. The problem is if you double it through food, you take maybe too much calories, and also you have the problem of too many calories, which also stimulate mTOR, which counter the effect of spermidine. So that was where the benefits of supplementing with just spermidine can help. So you like you don't need to eat too much, but I think if you wanted to get the benefits without too many calories, maybe that's where the supplementation is interesting beyond before
Right.
just food. But obviously, I mean, at the end of the day, I genuinely think it starts with food. So if you want to skip the supplements, you should, but look into the food that have the highest amount of spermidine if you wanted to get the benefits for sure.
So,
Okay.
so how does spermidine compare to rapamycin?
Like, so it's even better than this, and unfortunately it's not highlighted enough, I feel. But for rapamycin to work efficiently, it needs spermidine. So rapamycin treatment, there's a study that is actually just like in the supplemental figure of this fasting study I showed in the Nature paper that came out last year. But what they show in this paper, and I find it sad that they didn't make a paper in itself about it, but the rapamycin effect of inactivating mTOR and triggering autophagy, it needs spermidine. So rapamycin supplement in mice increase spermidine level, which then trigger autophagy. So without spermidine, the rapamycin effect were not there basically. And this whole study that I showed about autophagy that was able to maintain stemness. In this study, they literally did a parallel with the same experiment using rapamycin and spermidine, and they were comparable. Now, again, at this dosage, and I can't remember at the top of my head, in mice, they were comparable. We don't really have these exact studies in humans, so I can't tell you. Also, I'm not knowledgeable enough in the dosage of rapamycin to give an opinion about it, but they should be able to have a similar effect. I just cannot tell you which dosage that would be. And also, there's a lack of just general data on what is the ideal spermidine dosage in human. We stay at around 6 milligram in clinical studies. That's where we've seen a lot of beneficial effect. It could be that 10, 12 milligram might be slightly better, but there could be also an inflection point from too much oxidative stress, and we just don't know just yet. So that's why we stay in like the window of ideal diet intake.
Does spermidine have any effect on bone density?
Yeah, there's like some of the studies that I kind of like brushed over quickly in the musculoskeletal topic here, but like some of them definitely showed in mice an increase in bone density for sure. Which one was it specifically? I think it was now I don't remember. I think it was this one maybe. I can find it like the specific data, but it was done at some
The big question is we're always looking for an estrogen alternative for those who can't take it or don't want to take it, and would this be something that might be a substitute?
So that's what this paper that just came out a few months ago is kind of hinting at, is that so estrogen can be great for sure for cardiometabolic protection, but also it can also be an issue because it can increase the risk of reproductive cancers. And so spermidine might be able to mimic similar effects, cardiometabolic effects in menopause condition without triggering these or increasing the odds of reproductive cancer. Again, this is preclinical studies in mice, so we don't have the data just yet in humans, but it could be that it might be a good alternative. Or maybe like a combined approach where you slightly move away from the estrogen therapy. It really depends. I'm not an MD, so I don't really want to give my 2 cents on it. But like I invite you to look into this paper to get an idea. But again, this is just preclinicals so far. So
Are there any lab values that are useful for following sort of spermidine levels at all?
you mean like
Well,
levels in humans?
we can get a sirolimus level for rapamycin.
Yeah. So the problem with spermidine levels is that it's actually, for it to be efficient, it needs to be metabolized or at least uptaken, modify this effector EI5A. So in that sense, spermidine levels cannot be really tracked easily. Also, the level in the blood, there is a couple of studies out there that were a little bit controversial in terms of whether supplementation affected the blood levels. And it's a bit complex because it gets used easily. It also gets interconverted with other polyamine that I haven't brought up, spermine and putrescine. And so it's not that easy to just follow it and as a blood marker like this. I think the best thing you can do is measure biomarkers of autophagy, like those guys from the autophagosomal structure. I mean, probably costs a lot of money to do this test, but I've seen like some people do biomarker on this guy, LC3, ATG3, Becklin one, also ULK1. All those factors here can help track the effect of spermidine. That's what they use in preclinical studies in mice. It might not be that easy to access in humans. I'm not sure, or very costly.
So you said spermidine is synthesized from arginine and citrulline, or maybe I got it wrong. But if that's the case, is it close to growth hormone?
So I mean, there's a little bit of an interconnection, I guess. It uses ornithine, which is derived from arginine. So I'm not sure if it interfere with hormones. Like it's
No. I said, is it close to growth hormone? Because growth hormone is arginine and some other components to it. So since you're doing the arginine and ornithine and citrulline to do the spermidine, would it be
not
close?
ornithine.
Ornithine. Okay.
Yeah.
Ornithine.
So I mean, it helps with growth because it helps at least in plants. We know that it directs cell proliferation, but it's also linked to cell proliferation in other organisms. So I'm not sure how to answer specifically the question here, but I mean, what's
Because
your
I'm trying to see if there's some similarities between this spermidine and the growth hormone, since both of
no?
them they have the same sources.
Right. No, I wouldn't say that they're similar. Really, I mean, at least what's been elucidated so far is this pathway here of activating this translation factor and the formation of this structure of the autophagism, which is going to help with the recycling of the components. So I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with growth hormones, specific mechanism of action in regards to autophagy to give you a definite answer on this, but I could look into it. You just
Right.
give me more. You see, it never ends.
I'm just curious because of the composition. That's all. Yes.
It's a good question. Like, I will look into it.
What about some psychological or psychiatric benefits with spermidine?
Yeah, someone asked this a little bit before, and I addressed it quickly. There's a study that will come out hopefully in the next few months. You can probably Google it, and the preprint is already accessible. That shows that the polyamine metabolism is affected in people that have depression symptoms, and that supplementing with spermidine, so in humans, it was done with our supplement, was able to reduce depression symptoms, reduce cortisol level to the same effect of other pharmacological options. So it definitely can help with that. Would highly recommend someone that is experienced depression to try it. give it a try. Also because the time window in the study was pretty short, less than a month. So definitely would recommend someone to look into it. So it's a natural option also, it's a food supplement, so rather safe to try.
Okay, Dr. Nario, do you have any email questions?
Yeah, I'm still wrapping my brain around the mice that increases their hand grips. I guess they have little paws that they're holding on and testing. I don't know how they tested that, but they have probably like little grip machines for these little mice. But it's good it happened, right? So, but one of the things that I can tell you about spermidine is out of all the longevity protocols that I've seen, especially in A4M, spermidine is actually one of the ones that are on top. This is almost at the level of urolithin A, even rapamycin and metformin. That's why it grabbed my attention when I saw you guys in A4M. So that's I'm a user. I mean, not a drug user, but I'm a big fan of your product, but because of the studies that I've seen behind it. So again, good results with this. The thing that I think one of the bolstering facts here is why spermidine over the other anti-aging or longevity medicines or supplements. It's just that it's a standout that the side effects of spermidine is very low for rapamycin, immunosuppression, metformin, lactic acidosis, right? Resveratrol is very safe, but it's not as powerful as spermidine. That's why spermidine, the sell out reason why this is something that will be safe with in terms with our patients is just the safety profile.
And to link it to urolithin A, which is also a good supplement to activate mitophagy, I would say that the edge of spermidine here is really it not only activates mitophagy but autophagy in general. So it's going to help with proteostasis as well. Whereas urolithin A can be great, but it's really it's really a niche for mitophagy specifically, and it's a different pathway that's activated. But they're both very good supplement to help just maintain like a clean background. And the way I've been like really, because I've been reading so much about it, is that to me it seems like a very important base to set before you even start taking other supplement is making sure you have a healthy level of autophagy going on. So like a clean background before you start putting new stuff to like interfere with all those biochemical pathways, So that's the way I see it. It's like clean the plate and just add new stuff.
Okay. Well, one curiosity here. So you mentioned about, of course, you activate this during fasting, right, or protein deprived states. So when you take the supplement, should it be done with food, without food? I mean, now how do you apply that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm going to give you my intuition because I don't have data for that. The way I see it is that spermidine, you're already taking it with food, right? It originally comes from food, and that's how you activate autophagy. Now, I would say that probably taking spermidine before, for example, you go to bed, that's what I do before you take food after. So you're going to go through an extended period of time without food. So especially if you're doing intermittent fasting, I think that might be the most efficient way to get the best out of your spermidine intake is to take it without too much food. But I don't really have any data to back this up. But that would be my intuition.
All right. Okay. There are different delivery methods of spermidine. I have seen sublingual, oral, and sometimes intranasal. But what is the best one in the studies that you've read?
That's a hard one because I mean the way they measure the parameter that they measure, they're so different. It's hard to say. Most of the studies, whether it's preclinical, well, actually clinical for sure, but preclinical studies, they've been done through oral ingestion, whether it's spermidine diluted in the water from mice or through food. So this is most of the studies we've seen. However, there are some preclinical studies that show spermidine injected. For example, I think it was in the gum of mice that has a sort of gum disease, and it helped basically reverse the gum disease just by taking those cells out of senescence and helping them just redivide properly. So I would say most of the data out there is from oral ingestion. So
All right,
So
right. Oh, I don't think, yeah, I haven't heard of any injectable yet, but sure, if it's out there, that would be nice to see. We were just talking about the safety of spermidine, but I'm sure any supplement, any medicine, we need to keep an eye out for a side effect or maybe a contraindication. In this situation, is there anything for spermidine?
So no side effects that we know of. Again, everybody intakes spermidine whether they want it or not through food. However, contraindication just because of like the very specific case and the problem of the local tumor. In case of advanced tumor, I'm not an MD, so I do not recommend, but I would not recommend someone to supplement. However, people that have advanced cancer still eat and still intake spermidine, and you can still benefit from supplementation in the other parts of your body. Just out of caution, we just tell people that have advanced cancer not to take it. However, supplementation with spermidine is linked with a decreased occurrence of cancer in the first place. So it actually helps to prevent cancer. In the very specific case of an advanced cancer, it could help locally the tumor maintain itself, just to evade the
So
immune
we say
system.
advanced, stage 3, stage 4, stage 1, stage 2, pretty good.
I don't know. I would say stage 3 could already be too advanced. But again, I it's a hard one because the data is not there, and someone that has stage 3 cancer still produce spermidine in their gut, still ingest some, and so the levels. It also depends what you ingest. I do not recommend to use synthetic form of spermidine that can go very high. Also, like it's this pure form, we don't really know how it's absorbed, how it translates in blood levels. We have this data with natural sources spermidine from our germ extract. We don't have this from synthetic. So it all depends how much you intake. If you get at physiological dose, for example, the highest dose we propose is 6 milligram of daily supplementation, which is, by the way, the maximum dose allowed by the European Food Safety Agency for the food supplement. So I would not recommend to go higher than this. I think it's still safe, even if you have cancer, but gray area. We're trying to be cautious.
So you mentioned about 6 milligrams. I always hear you mention that. So do you have specific the dosing tiers? For example, 6
Hey,
milligrams.
Claudia, how are you?
And then if you go down like around 4, 2 for healthy people as a maintenance,
I
is there
mean,
something?
so we have several products and they just differ. They just change from the amount of spermidine in it. This is the base product, is 2
Oh,
milligrams of spermidine.
Dr. Bill, are we going to turn off the